what can only be described as a remarkable escalation of the president's domestic military ambitions. Multiple outlets report the Pentagon has now ordered thousands of National Guard personnel to complete civil unrest mission training. The goal? To create a nationwide reaction force consisting of over 23,000 troops meant to quell civil disturbances. This unit will pull hundreds of troops from all 50 states. Soldiers who are normally used for disaster relief, like tornadoes, floods, hurricanes, not policing American citizens. They're expected to be fully operational by April 1st, April Fool's Day. And we've seen how these deployments play out. In some cities, troops have used tear gas and riot control tactics despite explicit bans on doing so. In others, like Washington, D.C., Guard members have been used as a kind of domestic cleaning crew, ordered to pick up trash, spread mulch, and beautify the city, costing taxpayers millions in the process. So far, National Guard deployments have taken place in 5 U.S. cities, sparking outrage from Democratic governors who've taken the administration to court. The latest flashpoint, Portland, Oregon. A federal judge is set to rule by tomorrow night on the constitutionality of Trump's troop deployment. That ruling will likely be immediately appealed to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. But if the president doesn't get his way, he's already signaling a workaround, invoking the Insurrection Act.
I'd be allowed to do that, you understand? And the courts wouldn't get involved, nobody would get involved, and I could send the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, I could send anybody I wanted.
Joining us now, Oregon Attorney General Dan Rayfield. Attorney General, thank you so much for joining us. You stay in court fighting this administration over a myriad of different things, but I'm curious, as you just heard me read, this president kind of using thousands of troops for civil unrest missions nationwide, and they'll be up and running by April 1st. What do you think is behind that, and how concerned are you about something like that coming to your state?
You know, this is one of the ways that the president's attacking one of those fundamental pillars of what we or see ourselves as Americans, right? We've grown up in a country where the use of the military on our streets to enforce our laws is not normal. It's not normal for a reason, because we have laws that prevent that. We don't want to be a third world country. It's strange to me that this president is so insistent on normalizing the use of the United States military on our streets. And you're seeing it right now, right? We're in court right now with judges who are saying, no, this is unconstitutional, what you are trying to do, Mr. President. And so he wants to continue to do that. He continues to find or try to find workarounds. I think what you're going to see with all of the Democratic attorneys general across this country is that whatever workaround the president tries to accomplish, we're going to be there, we're going to meet him in court, and we're going to fight him to make sure that we uphold what those common American values are. You want to police our streets, we welcome that, but you do that with the police, your city police, your sheriffs, your state police. You don't do that with the United States military.
And, you know, I want to ask you about some news that happened this week in this vein, which was the appeals court that is reconsidering the deployment of the National Guard to Oregon. A majority of judges on the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals voted to rehear an argument over the temporary restraining order that blocked Trump from federalizing the National Guard in your state after 2 Trump appointees allowed the deployment to continue. How rare is it for members of the Ninth Circuit to vote to rehear a case that's already been decided by a panel of their peers? And does this mean that Portland residents should be concerned and prepared for National Guard presence? And what outcomes do you think they should be ready for here?
Yeah, and for folks that you're trying to grapple with what the heck is going on in our court system, you had a lower court, a judge who was appointed by President Donald Trump, who said he had exceeded his authority to federalize the National Guard, said, hey, what you did was unlawful. The Ninth Circuit Court paused that, and it was a 3-judge panel. We then asked the entire panel, all of the judges of the Ninth Circuit, to take a peek at this, and they said yes. And when they did that, they put a pause on that 3-judge panel that that had paused the lower court's decision. I know that's a lot of pausing, but right now what that is that's really good for Oregonians, and we're hopeful that when that full panel gets to see the real facts, because that's what courts are about, real facts, not the talking points that President Trump gets off of social media, that those judges will agree that the president exceeded the authority. So, and in a worst case scenario, right, we are prepared to be responsible adults here in Portland, Oregon, and in Oregon as a whole. The National Guard members are our neighbors. They are our people that we see in our community, and we're going to be respectful if that is the decision the Ninth Circuit wants to go, but we're going to fight like hell to make sure that it isn't.
Attorney General, you were just talking about the worst case scenario. The ultimate worst case scenario is the president following through on his threat or even just talking about invocation of the Insurrection Act. That's something that I've been personally concerned about since he took the oath of office. How concerned are you that that's the road we're on, that we're on the road to the president invoking the Insurrection Act?
Well, this is a president that doesn't take no for an answer, right? And this is a position where we felt that if he was turned down with this underlying principle in court right now, if he is found that what he's doing is unlawful, he's going to continue to find that next approach. And I believe you're right. The Insurrection Act is exactly where he's going to go. He's saying it out loud. We've done our homework. We're prepared to meet him in court on that issue. But that is going to be, just like all these cases, incredibly fact determinative on whether he has or does not have the authority to invoke that Insurrection Act. No matter what happens in court in favor of our states, whether it's Oregon, California, or Illinois, or whether it's in favor of the president, what it really does when we get these rulings in court, it tells America that these are the laws that are currently in place, and is this what we want? And it's going to be up to Congress to really cabin in the authority of the president if we don't want the military walking our streets in some authoritarian-like state. And so I think no matter what happens, this will give us a real clear idea of what authority the president has.
I want to take a not super sharp, but a right turn and talk about the kind of food emergency and SNAP benefits. Your governor declared in a press release yesterday a food emergency directing $5 million to food banks and calls Oregonians to action as federal shutdown cuts off SNAP benefits. Oregon has 17.7% of the population relying on SNAP benefits. This was according to USDA numbers from 2024. When you hear the president yesterday saying that, one, that these two rulings that weren't in conflict were in conflict, and that maybe they should find some money and figure out how to help people and feed folks, how concerned are you that the way that they do that, right? Because they're not going to have enough money to fill the entire pot that folks are going to need. How concerned are you that he's going to use that to, as he's done before, hurt Democrats more than Republicans?
Of course. I mean, this is what this president does. He is incredibly delusional, or he is one of the most malicious presidents that we've ever had in the history of our country. Think about that. The history of our country, where Congress, Democrats and Republicans, have passed contingency plans to make sure that Americans have food assistance. They did that purposefully. This is the only president that has denied that. That is callous. That is malicious. It's angering. People should be upset because people are running out of food benefits right now. There are people in offices across the state of Oregon going into child welfare offices, food assistance offices, yelling, upset because they cannot get the benefits they need to feed their children. This is wild that we're living in a country that is willing to accept this garbage right now. And I got a lot more strong language for what's going on right now.